Sportsman, what's good? Connect Gang, appreciate y'all jumping on here with us, man. You see who I got here. I got my brother Maceo Heard in here. We're gonna talk about some of this NFL stuff.
Ooh, let's go.
I can't wait to get in here and talk about that. We definitely talk about this draft, talk about some of these prospects in this draft and who's doing what. So Connect Gang, appreciate y'all getting in here. Let's get a couple more people in here, man, and we'll get rolling on this. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's Friday. We still don't know who president. I'm telling everybody until we get to 270, don't let me know nothing. I don't want to know nothing until we get 270.
Right. Yeah, I hear you, man. It is, to your point, that's the same thing, man. People have been going in and really being kind of, I guess, proactive, whatever you want to call it, about posting, about who's going to win or what's going on or projecting. And it's like, nah, let's wait before we start doing all that, man. Right.
Yes, man. Yes, sir. Trent, you see what I got on, baby? I bleed blue, man. I bleed blue and silver, man.
Yes,
even though we're gonna get trashed by the Steelers on Sunday, I've been campaigning to get signed the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm ready. You know what? We need to talk about that, man. Since we are going to be talking this draft talk, I'm wearing I got my Fritz Pollard shirt on, man, from Proud History. That for everybody that doesn't know, man, this man is very influential as we see all of these black quarterbacks that are now in the NFL. This guy was one of the first and a major influence for us and did a lot of things in the NFL, man. So, I thought it'd be right that since we're having draft talk, that we honor him and talk about him. At least I wear the shirt and rep him and rep Proud History as well. So, man, let's get into it. So, as we talk about this draft stuff, we can start since you already started antagonizing Trent with your bleeding blue and silver.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this draft and some of these prospects at this quarterback position. And this is interesting to me because everybody has one Trevor Lawrence as the number one overall pick in the draft, and rightfully so, right? So with that being said, though, there are other quarterbacks in here as well that we'll talk about. What's really interesting to me, and I want to get your perspective from a draft position, is there are a lot of teams that are at the top of the draft. Right. If it were to hold true to form, right, in terms of people with bad records, there are a lot of people at the top of the draft that may or may not need a quarterback, feel like they have a guy, etc. So we want to get into some of that as well. So as the season has played out so far, give me your take on Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, all these quarterbacks. So let's talk about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields first, and tell me what you've seen. What do you think? If you were sitting at the top of the draft and you were the New York Jets, I would presume, if you don't feel like you have your guy in Sam Darnold, right? Or if you feel like your process has, quote unquote, ruined Sam Darnold, depends on what side of the fence you're on. Give me your perspective on what you would do if you were the GM of the Jets and what you've been seeing from these quarterbacks.
So this is going to be tough for me because I've covered these guys since high school.
Right.
I've known these guys. One of my good friends, Ron Veal, he trains both of them.
They're from your turf.
They're in the backyard. Yeah. I've watched these guys. So let's talk Trevor Lawrence. Trevor has basically been anointed the guy since 9th grade.
Yep.
And what he's done at Clemson, and I mean, it's like we know, we've seen we can see what he can do.
Yes. Yep.
Justin, a little sidetracked because he started his career at Georgia, and I never felt like he should have ever stepped foot in Athens. I never felt that way.
Well, how do you think they feel now?
Oh, come on, man. Come on, bro. They kicking Kirby every chance they get.
You're right.
Every chance they get, they're kicking Kirby.
Right.
About to see, because we know that Justin is a far superior athlete than Jake Fromm.
Right.
But if you look at Jake Fromm body of work at the time,
It worked.
SEC Freshman of the Year, fresh off a natty.
Right.
Should have won the natty.
Should have won it.
And neither here nor there. And then it's some other things, you know, offline conversations that, you know, we will have to have as to why Kirby chose Justin. But that's neither here nor there because Justin is in the perfect situation for his skill set.
Right, right. And you would have to think, too, talking about other teams that are upset, then I want to get back to your assessment. One, James Franklin is probably not happy right now, is he? As a former Penn State commit, one Justin Fields.
But you know what's so crazy about that? At the time when Justin committed,
yeah,
he wasn't as hot on the recruiting trail as he became.
Right. Yeah.
You look at his Elite 11 performance and all of the camps he went to, the opening, and he's got like really Justin came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, he was a very good prospect, but once he got on the national stage, it was like, wait a minute, hold on.
Right. Right.
This guy is big. He can run.
Yeah.
He can throw. He has all of these things. And like I say, he's a great kid.
Yeah.
And he was able to put all of these things on display. And here again, where Trevor had just been the guy since day one.
Right.
You know, we like new stuff. Oh, here come this other kid. Wait a minute, hold on.
Right.
He's better, but it's almost like, what do you really want?
Yeah.
Again, so you look at Trevor goes in and he wins a natty as a freshman.
Right.
Had Clemson in position to win a natty last year.
Right. Right.
And will probably be in contention for a natty this year.
Yeah.
So he's done everything that you've asked him to do. Oh, and by the way, he's a good athlete as well. Like, ask Ohio State, can he run?
Right.
He broke their back with his legs.
No question. No question.
So for me, it's one A, 1B. Like, what do you prefer?
Right.
So let's talk Jets for a minute. Adam Gase probably will not be the coach next year, no matter what they're talking about. Depending on who they hire as a coach, do you want a new guy? Are you ready to move on from Sam Darnold? Most new coaches, most guys, they want their guy.
They want their guy.
Sam Darnold might not be the new coach guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we talk that part of it, hey, now do you want Hollywood, who just looks the part, and Trevor Lawrence, you know, shampoo endorsements, just everything. Like, this guy is big time.
Right. No question.
Justin, I mean, he doesn't have like that built-in like charisma that and credit to Justin because he on Instagram dancing now. He's showing a lot of his personality now.
Right. Yep.
So it's like, what do you want?
Right.
You to me, you can't lose with either guy.
Yep. Yep.
Both of them great families. Oh my God, great families on both of these guys. Very humble kids,
which is very important. Speak about why. When you know, I was Connect Gang. I'm here with my brother Maceo Heard. This is my guy. We do a basketball show every Saturday. We'll get back to it now that the season is starting. But Maceo has an incredible sports mind, great football mind as well. So I like to tap into it to hear his basketball knowledge. His football knowledge. And so I want you to talk about. I know I don't want to give my take on it from a scouting perspective, but I want you to talk about what you just said about that incredible family and how important that is, especially with respect to that quarterback position.
Oh, because the quarterback is going to be the CEO of your franchise.
Right.
And before you give a guy, and okay, it's lucky that you have this NFL salary cap.
Right.
So you don't have to give guys $50-60 million like they gave Sam Bradford. I ain't gonna let y'all throw Jamarcus Russell under the bus all the time. Sam Bradford stole money too. Y'all stop that.
Thank you for standing up for one of my Raiders, man. I appreciate that.
Jamarcus, my guy, man. He was represented by one of my good friends, Mel Bratton. So I got love for Jamarcus. So y'all gonna stop talking about he the biggest bust ever because that's not true.
Yeah.
But you're talking about CEOs of your franchise. These guys, when you pick a franchise quarterback, he is scheduled to be the face of your franchise for many years.
Yep.
So this part of it is very crucial because you're going to give this guy the keys to your city. the keys to your franchise. He's always going to be out front.
Right.
And you don't want a guy that's going to, embarrass the organization. Every time his name comes up, everybody's going to be like, oh, this guy.
Right.
So it's that Fortune 500 factor.
Right.
With the quarterback. Every time you have an event, 9.5 times out of 10, you're sending your quarterback.
Right.
Because he is the most recognizable guy in your organization. So having a guy who very, family oriented, just deep rooted. Look at the guys who franchise quarterbacks right now.
Yep.
Russell Wilson. Think about it. Just clean cut, all of these things.
Right.
You can give him the keys to your city.
Yes, sir.
Pat Mahomes.
Yes,
Come
sir.
on now.
Right.
So when we're talking the quarterback position, this guy is going to be, and I'm even one of my favorite guys, even though he getting beat up right now. When Cam Newton was first drafted,
yes,
Cam had everything you were looking for.
Yep.
Charisma. And this before he was dressing the way he dressed today.
And before he took all the punishment that he took in Carolina.
Right. So this guy, commercials, and I'm going to do you one better. I'm talking about Dak.
Yeah.
Think about Dak was the face of a lot of Dak putting in work out here.
And it's funny that you say that because I want to talk about Dak. And then I got a comment from on IG from my guys, the Fan Podcast, about the Jets. They're Jets fans. So one of the things about Dak that people always say, OG, I appreciate you tapping in, family. One of the things that people say, that's one of my brothers, and this is Sports Connect here. So Connect Gang, go check out my guy OG as well. So one of the things I want to say about Dak, man, and I need to get your perspective on this, is, and then we want to get to this comment from the Fan Podcast about the Jets. But you just tapped into something with me and emotion with the Jets, man. You're playing with my emotions. So people always reference, with respect to his contract, right? When they're pocket hustling, when they're counting his money, right?
Yeah, people pockets.
Right.
Rule number one.
People always reference, right, his commercials. And they're like, well, he should take less. And people will say, and there are talking heads that say, right, and I need to get your perspective, that say, being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you get endorsements and things of that nature. And my pushback on it, and that's why I need to get your perspective. My pushback on it is, and you know this as a guy that bleeds blue and silver, like your shirt says, man, what Babe Laufenberg wasn't getting national endorsements, right? Neither was Steve Walsh, right? So playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys is one thing, but dog, you got to be able to play, right? So those endorsements come because that man can play. So give me your perspective on that, brother.
Well, at the Chris Sports Talk Network, rule number one: stay out of people's pocket.
Facts.
Stay out of people's pocket. You don't know what these folk. You don't know their money situation outside of when they leave the field. Another rule in the game is leave no money on the table. Ask for everything. Peyton Manning had one of the greatest quotes ever. Hometown discount. What is that? You're gonna give me every dime you owe me.
Right.
So when I hear guys talk about, well, okay, he gonna make so much money being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Well, Tony Romo got that same treatment.
Yep.
It's not his fault he's Dallas Cowboy quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
But again, he's balling. So he deserves every other thing that comes to him. And listen, Troy Aikman went through it. Roger Staubach go through it. And they're still benefiting. Romo and Aikman are benefiting from being the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. Right. Romo didn't win nothing.
Yeah.
But he was the Dallas Cowboy quarterback for 10 plus years. So that carries his weight.
It does. But he was good, right?
Like, he was very good.
So that's my point, right? Like you it's one thing to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. It's another thing when you have to be good to do that, and to get those things that Dak is getting from an endorsement standpoint, man. So going back to the Jets and what we're having with this quarterback situation and what they'll do in the draft. So Fan Podcast on IG says that as a Jets fan, they would rather keep Darnold and move the pick and get a king's ransom for the pick. What's your perspective on that? That requires that so I guess also I need to know your evaluation of Sam Darnold now, right? After being in the league for a couple of years, being in that situation in New York, is it enough for you to pass on whether that be Trevor Lawrence, who is, the presumptive number one pick, or is it Justin Fields?
Well, this is what we have to think about with the Jets. They will, first of all, the Jets gonna win 3 games, so the Cowboys gonna get number 1 overall pick. But let's leave it there.
Then we gonna talk about that. That's another question I have for you.
Okay, the Jets gonna go 0-16. I was just joking everybody. Jets going 0-16. So this is gonna be the question for the next coach and GM. Do you like Sam Darnold moving forward? Or do you want to say, you know what? Trevor Lawrence is a once-in-a-generation type guy.
Yep.
Let's take him.
Right.
So,
from your evaluation standpoint, what would you do if you were sitting in that seat, and why?
Well, I'm gonna put my GM hat on. I'm saying bye to Sam Darnold because I'm about to pick up his option soon.
Right.
Am I gonna give him $25-30 million on the first-year option, or am I gonna pay Trevor or Justin, $27 million over 5 years to get them to prove? Because listen, the NFL is about winning while your quarterback is on this rookie deal. Because once you have to start paying him the chunk load of the salary cap,
right,
you done.
Right. No problem.
I move on from Darnold. I mean, if I'm the GM, I'm moving on from Darnold. I think I can get more productivity out of Fields or Trevor, whichever guy I'm going to pick number 1.
Right.
I'm going to live with that. I'm Sam Darnold. You go find some other love, some more love out there in them streets.
So you would move on.
I move on.
So staying with this quarterback talk. So there are some teams again that may or may not be in the running for that number 1 pick or a top 5 pick and be in a situation where they can take a quarterback. If you are, let's talk about the Dolphins in particular, and not so much their pick, because right now they're 4-3.
Right.
And it's starting, we know that. And they're 4-3 right now. So right now they're not in the running for a top 5 pick to be able to get, Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence. So, but caveat here, they have the Houston Texans number 1 pick this year.
They do.
Right? The Houston Texans are 1-6. Right. So, and we're seeing this where teams are, one of the things that, and this goes into what you just said, one of the things that we're seeing in salary cap driven leagues, we're seeing this in the NBA as well, is the rookie scale, as that has been sort of implemented in the NBA and in the NFL. It's enabled teams to do 2 things: get a high level of production from a guy on a relatively small contract. But the other thing that it's done as well is it has allowed teams to, if they make a bad decision in the draft, it makes it less punitive for a team to move on. Right. So with that being said, we know that the Dolphins took Tua 5th overall last year, right? He only started, he just started his first game last week. So there's a lot of runway out there before we start evaluating if Tua is the guy.
Right.
That being said, if the Miami Dolphins secure the number 1 pick in the draft through the Houston Texans, what do you do if you were sitting in that GM seat?
So if I'm the Miami Dolphins, real quick. So this is why they're playing Tua at this point of the season now. They got to see what they got. so they can make a decision, because it's possible that they're gonna probably have a top 2 or 3 pick.
Yes.
So do we add pieces around Tua? Do we get another piece on defense? Do we need another weapon offensively? Because they listen, they tank for Tua. They got Tua. So they're not going to be in the quarterback market. But they're going to be in a situation where, okay, somebody who may not be in that situation, let's take Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to probably, depending on what they got to give up, they're probably going to be in a situation where, like, listen, we'll give you X, Y, Z to move into the selection, second, third, depending on what you have, so we can get one of these quarterbacks, because they need a good. Minshew Mania is done. And I was on the Minshew. I was on the Minshew train, but I want to see Trevor just in that uniform.
Yeah. Well, you know, to your point, like, I guess that leads me back to Trevor and Justin as well, right? You have to, if you are, and when we see this in basketball, and I always put it in basketball terms, you have to have a cheat code from an athletic standpoint, or to be able to do something amazing on the court to overcome a dysfunctional nature from your organization, right? And so you look at the Jets. We know what's going on there, right? Okay. So we look at Jacksonville, and you mentioned that, and that's why and that was one of my questions. You look at Jacksonville. The problem in Jacksonville is, yes, we know how dysfunctional it is. We've seen the things, we've heard the players and seen the players sort of and force their way out of Jacksonville, out of Duval, right?
Duval.
Right. So what you're overcoming is not in being inept from a talent evaluation standpoint, because they hit on the draft. It's creating an environment that players want to stay in, right? So if you're a young quarterback, is that an environment you want to be in?
And see, this is the crazy part about we've been hearing that, you know, people saying, Trevor, go back to school or do this and that.
Yep.
These guys make up not like that.
Right.
You know, look at Joe Burrow last year. Everybody like, oh, Joe, talk people out of going to tell you people you don't want to go to Cincinnati. Some guys are so happy with the opportunity to play in the NFL, and they're not going to big time the NFL. Everybody not royalty like the Mannings.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's why Eli was able to do it and really kind of not take the hit for it.
Right. And John Elway, all that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. These guys aren't that way. But the beauty of and what you just said, listen, I can be there short time through, you know, 4th, 5th year option. If team decide, you know, move on or whatever, because I might stink.
Right.
And might have to get my second opportunity somewhere else. But with these guys, just the way they're mentally made up, the family bond, they're not gonna big time organization.
Yeah, yeah.
Should they? I mean, they have the leverage to do so.
Yeah.
But they don't want to give their brand, their image, a black eye.
Right.
Going in, because now, okay, I blocked my way out of going to New York. Say I go wherever else, I suck.
Right.
Now
right.
It's like, man, you know how we do out here in these streets.
Yeah.
You know how we do out there in these streets. Right. So they wouldn't do it. Joe Burrow didn't do it. You know, he's like, listen, I'm gonna take my lumps. This is where I was drafted, because many feel it's a privilege to play in the league.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do, you know, I'm gonna go whoever take me, that's where I'm going. I mean, Tua, you know, did Tua want to go earlier than 5? You know, Tua was like, I want to go to Cincinnati. Yeah. Because I want to be the number 1 overall pick. Like, that means more than going to this organization here, and I done talked my way out of it. So, I don't buy it.
And see, what you just touched on is one of the things from a scouting perspective that at least I look at, right, when you start taking it to basketball, and you can put that as apples to apples with respect to football as well, is one of the things that you said was being competitive. It's not necessarily about whether you like the game or not. Whether you work hard or not. Because when you are in college now, all of the stuff that you have to do that's mandatory, weights, training, practice outside of practice, those things have become mandatory now, right? And so you don't even have to ask if a guy is a quote unquote hard worker or not, because what difference does it make? Because the colleges have made everything mandatory. The question is how competitive you are and how much do you really love it, right? So to your point, that competitive aspect of it that's where the guy says, you know what, let me go to Cincinnati and show you what I can do, right? So I agree with you wholeheartedly there. When sometimes you start questioning. I understand people want to be in the best position to compete, but you start questioning sometimes about how competitive are you if you're like, so you telling me that you need everything to go exactly right. Like you can't have a hangnail, right? Or everything's got to be right for you to be good. And as we know, when you're on the gridiron and you're a quarterback, it's rarely like that, right? It's rarely like that because there's so many good players, and the schemes that you have to compete against is rarely ever like that, where it's perfect conditions, weather, scheme, all that stuff, so you can be
never.
Successful. Yeah. So I got a question here. It's one of my guys. G. Wells, I appreciate you, family. If the Jets pick a new coach like Eric Bieniemy, wouldn't that make the Jets a more inviting spot since he's a great OC?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because this is what organizations who are looking for a head coach, and this is what they have to look at. I need to bring a guy in who not only is going to energize the fan base,
right,
who's going to energize the culture in the building.
Right.
And I think that's where Dan Quinn kind of failed here in Atlanta. We saw we see what Mike McCarthy doing right now. That won the energy pick. That, as a matter of fact, I remember when that's neither here nor there. Yeah. But that's going to be big because the Jets, listen, you've heard Jamal Adams, you guys who move away from the Jets, you hear how they talk about the organization. And listen, that you can't help where you're drafted.
Right.
But from a free agent perspective, you can't land free agents when people in the streets talking crazy. I mean, it's just like we always talk about basketball. The Knicks, until Dolan stop rocking out with his band and all this other stuff he do, the Knicks aren't going to get quality guys,
right,
free agents.
Right.
And that's the Mecca.
Right.
So, I mean, the organizational philosophy means the word, listen, I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody knows that I hate them.
Yeah.
But you can't hate on the fact that they've only had 3 head coaches in the entirety of the organization.
Right. Yeah. You can't be a Cowboys fan and like the Steelers.
Right? Oh, no. Yeah. I hate them with a passion.
Yeah.
But what we do know is the structure is in place, and it's no secret why they have success.
Yeah.
That's we see the organizations who always seem like every 3, 4, 5 years they look for a coach.
Right.
Those are, bad organizations.
Right.
And that's what you want to when you're thinking about bringing in a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, they want them to say, hey, I want to be here for 10 plus years.
Right.
Not, hey, behind closed door, 8-5, I'm opting out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't even worry about picking up my option. I'm looking elsewhere. I'm ready to go. So It's just one of those things, man. Your organization matters, man. It really matters.
That must happen with StreamYard. So talking the NFL draft here. So appreciate you all tapping in. Once again, it's on. We're getting this thing done here, giving you this this real talk only hashtag RTO. So back into that, looking at the team that's in your city, right? We got to discuss two teams, right? Because again, we're talking about teams that might be in the running to pick a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or Trey Lance or the guy that's coming from BYU, Zach Wilson, right? So I want to get your insight on both of those guys. But before we talk about both of those guys, two hot button teams in the NFL, and we know this a lot, right, are the Atlanta Falcons and the Dallas Cowboys. Two teams that if you look, you might look and say, if both quarterbacks are from a health standpoint at full strength, you may say they don't need quarterbacks. The Atlanta Falcons, the team of your city, Matt Ryan is leading the league in passing yards right now, right? And we've talked about this before about how Atlanta fans haven't gotten over Michael Vick, and Matt Ryan is not really the issue, right? Right? So with what's going on in Atlanta, new building, Matt Ryan still playing well, because, you know, to be in your early 30s in the NFL now, with the fact that they can't hit you, right, in your early 30s, you can still get some stuff done for 7-8 years in the league still.
Easy.
Right? So if you are the Atlanta Falcons and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are on the board,
your homeboys,
right? And Matt Ryan has had the year thus far, say he stays true to form, has had the year that he's had, and he stays true to form. What do you do?
I'm gonna make this easy for everybody. Unless a team decides to come in here and write a check for $87 million, Matt Ryan not going nowhere for 2 more years. He's owed $87 million.
Speaking,
it's hard to move that. Like, unless a team feel like they are Matt Ryan away from going to the Super Bowl, Matt Ryan is going to be here. Mm-hmm. So Atlanta, get that out. Get it out your mind. I listen. Trevor has won multiple state championships in the Georgia Dome. He didn't get to play the Benz.
Yep.
It would be nice. Listen, everybody in Southwest Atlanta, everybody in Metro Atlanta, they want Justin Fields because he looked the part. And
Trent said, "Go get Trevor Lawrence on IG."
And again, Trent has been around like.
Well, and also too, he a Gator fan, so he is quarterback starved. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Trent.
So yeah, I mean, listen, the city would love either one of these guys because they're guys we picked up our newspaper every Saturday morning and we read about these guys. We continue to see and read about these guys, and they're always connected to the city. Right. But unless a team is going to write you a check for $87 million, Matt Ryan is going to be here for 2 more years till that contract is up. Yeah. So it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. 2 years, man. 2 more years of the Matt Ryan. And see, this is the thing too. When the new GM and the new head coach comes to Atlanta, it's going to be a conversation. But the conversation gonna be short because it's like, hey, okay, can we move him? Probably not. We owe him $87 million. And we'll ask somebody, hey, you want to take these $87 million off our hand? People gonna be like, nah, we don't. Matt Ryan gonna be here.
Yeah. Well, you know, we just had for whatever reason, we have some issues on Streamyard. So I'm exclusively talking to you on Instagram right now until Streamyard gets back in. So, but Trent just said we got to start thinking about a QB now. So, he said we have no backup and no future. So, with that being said, and Connect Gang, I appreciate you all on YouTube and on Facebook here. We're going to try to get this thing going back here in a second. Hold on. We're on IG right now. So with that, what about, I got a question just came up. I'm going to ask you that. But with that, what about Trey Lawrence? right? What about Zach Wilson? So Trent just said, and I'm saying this for a reason, because one of the things, as competitive as quarterbacks are, one of the things about quarterbacks as well is we know quarterbacks are very sensitive, right? So if you have one Matt Ryan and say the Falcons are at like 6 or 7, and Trey Lance from North Dakota State is on the board, right? And as Trent said, you want to start addressing your future. Is that a better future pick than Justin Fields or Trey Lawrence with respect to Matt Ryan? Because if Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence come in there, I'm sorry, I think Matt Ryan's going to be very sensitive.
Very.
Right?
Very. Listen, because I get to be around Matt Ryan a lot because we cover the team. I told Matt this one time. It's crazy people don't get to see that dog side of you.
Yep.
He rips guys in practice every day. Like, the dude is like the ultimate competitor.
Right.
But because he's always going to say the right thing, he's always going to do the right thing, you're never going to see him throw a guy under the bus. You're never going to see him bash guys. He's just not made up that way.
Yep.
The tragedy, really, at the end of the day, when you stick with a quarterback this long, and okay, let's get this out of the way. Yes, he should have a Super Bowl. He should have a Super Bowl.
Right. Right.
He won your MVP.
Yep.
The guy that everybody's in love with in the city didn't do that for you. Not only did he not do that for you, he has openly admitted. He tells us all the time.
And so for the people that don't know, and this is gonna hit a nerve. You're talking about, let's get into it. This is gonna hit a nerve. Tell the people, tell the Connect gang who you were talking about that the city loves that didn't deliver.
Right. And listen.
Gee, we're getting to your question right now.
Mike Vick is my guy.
No question.
We had, anytime we want Mike Vick on, we get Mike. Listen, we've had so many, like, the best conversation with Mike are the ones that, you really don't want to be on the record. But, like, this guy, I mean, listen, he's admitted in interviews when he was here, he was more of a rock star than a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you got to think, we gave a 22-year-old $100 million who was posseed up with his crew.
Yeah.
And he was the last one in the building, first one to leave.
Yep.
He was.
Yep.
And it took him finally, bad news, Kimmel, it finally took all of those things.